And there it's going. Okay. We'll wait for a few seconds for YouTube to start showing. It's getting dirtier and dirtier with the politics it's playing. Alright, we are live, and alright everybody, it is June 16th, 2018. It is 5:01 Pacific Standard Time. I hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday. And, well, Ed wanted me to bring out a couple of clips. One was done by, the one who's speaking is known as Joseph Rice. He is part of the Oath Keepers. This was about a Senate Bill 194 back in 2015. 941.
Yeah.
Senate Bill 941. Now, this was to basically remove the arms from the populace. Oregon. Now, this is not just Oregon that this is happening. This is happening everywhere. It says we here in Oregon were made aware of it. So here is Joseph Rice. Listen to what he said. This bill with.
We have to support each other, we have to train with each other, and we have to develop our sense of community. We must work together, as Stuart said, in teams, in brotherhood and sisterhood, to protect ourselves from what's going on behind us. If you read the language of SB 941, it says, this shall not go to the people for a vote. These people behind us had the arrogance to deny the citizens the right to vote on something that affects our freedoms and our liberty and our constitutional rights. And why do we tolerate it?
Now, he was standing right there in Salem at the state capitol building making a speech. It was a huge speech back in 2015. There was Rhodes that was there, Gavin Syme was there, a few others were there. But it's the aspect of they were not going to allow the populace to vote on it. They were just going to pass it. Now, that's what's happening. That's what is still happening today. But none of us know about it because they won't let it be public knowledge. They just are deciding for us. The other one Ed wanted me to put was I named it Trump Hate It. Basically, Trump is talking about children being taken away from their families. Well, why don't you listen? And this did happen recently. So, this video, it came from a mainstream media site, but I'm not going to say which one because, well, they
don't want the risk.
Well, don't want the risk, and this is education, so there is no copyright infringement.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with children being taken away from?
No, I hate it. I hate the children being taken away. The Democrats have to change their law. That's their law. Quiet. That's the Democrats' law. We can change it tonight. We can change it right now. I will leave here. You need their votes. You need their votes.
You guys
The Democrats, all they have to do.
You control both chambers of Congress.
No, the Democrats. Excuse me. By one vote, we don't need it. You need 60 votes. We have a one vote. Excuse me. We need a one vote. We have a one vote edge. We need 60. So we need 10 votes. We can't get them from the Democrats. Wait, you can't do it through an executive order. Can we do one question at a time? Wait, one question at a time. The children can be taken care of quickly, beautifully, and immediately. The Democrats forced that law upon our nation. I hate it. I hate to see separation of parents and children.
Now, for that, I think my favorite part was when he told everybody, quiet, quiet. Because they will just bombard him with questions like crazy. We could try and pick him up. But Trump don't trip easy. Ed, why don't you take this away?
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. It is one of those things that people don't realize, and everybody goes, well, we got to go against Trump. But you guys don't even have a clue about Trump, what he's really doing. That's the one thing that people don't have a clue, even though that I'm not in the voting system. And you get these people saying, well, you have to vote. If you don't vote, you don't have a say. You're right. We don't have a say because we're not part of democracy. And that's what Donald Trump just told you. Democracy. You want religion, you want control, you want this way of life, this is what you get. And that's what that clip was really about, is sitting there telling the people that seeing that you want to be raped, robbed, and pillaged, you want it, that's what they're doing to you, and so why are you bitching? So it is very disturbing. We're actually physically living this stuff today. Really, we're really living this stuff. And nobody's paying attention to what's going on, and the masses, per se, they're slowly waking up. A lot of us have got this stuff together, and that's the main point, is that we're working with each other. We're getting this stuff out, trying to get things so that way there's less conflict, less interest, so people are not fighting and arguing. The whole thing is, if we're supposed to be free, then we're supposed to act free. And everybody says, well, everything's an acting structure. Well, yeah, if you're free, act it. Or what part are you acting in? And see, that's the one thing that everybody gets confused about, these things that we go through in life. And it's interesting when you look at life, because, the roads that we've gone through. I'm in a different road structure because I just got some interesting news today that I got a cop that's building his house directly behind my house. So that's interesting, and this is all what's going on in my life, because I'm in what they've done to me going back for the last basic 15 years that I could prove, dealing with workman's comp and everything that's transpired in the state here, in the county, and what I've been fighting personally. But that's another day, getting into all that. But it is interesting. Now I got this cop moving up. It's bad enough one of the former judges bought 5 houses right around me. I got another one coming in. So it's very interesting. So I have to look at it. I guess that things are changing, because if people start, those corporation members are out there starting to be religiously waking up, and they start voting to change this stuff so that way they're not having their families destroyed. And that's what Trump's telling you. Either you're going to be part of the system or you're not. And if you're part of the system, then change it. And it's so interesting when people cannot see the writing on the wall. It really is. And then when we walk away, sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't. That's why I always say, step out of the movie, watch the production. You start putting things together a little easier. Things start coming together a little easier. It totally is interesting when you step out of the movie and watch the production. That's why I always talk about the movie Interstate 60. Watch it, because it basically tells you the court system. Everybody knows it's a fraud. Everybody's making a living off it. Don't rock the boat. That's how we're raping this country. That's how we're ripping your country off from the inside out. You people are suckers. They're paying all these fees. So we get to rape it from the inside out. That's what these Democrats are doing to you. And don't forget, and it's interesting because, you got all these British talk shows out there. And you got, America's Got Talent that's run by the British government. You got, what is the other one called? Britain's Got Talent. And all these late night talk shows are all British or Canadians. I mean, doesn't anybody really pay attention to the truth of what's going on around our families or homes? And this is where Trump is coming out, and people are going against Trump. Most people don't have a concept of reality of what Trump's really doing. Everybody wants to attack him because they see stuff on the surface, but why don't you look? I mean, I actually, I started going back when the first time I saw Trump when he was on the Mouse show. Oh, God, what was that guy's name back in the 80s? he had a talk show, and I used to like watching that show Saturdays. A famous actor, father. He had all the Iron Man movies. I'm having a brain fart, but anyhow, his father, did several interesting interviews with Donald Trump back in the 1980s. And so when you sit there and you start watching these things, because I know a lot of people who didn't watch a lot of these things when it was developing in politics. Well, that's the one thing that, with me, I grew up watching politics primarily all my life. Paid attention. I was blessed in some regards of what I've been into and some of the fields I've been around. But what we're dealing with today is our rights. Now, if we're going to have property rights, we're going to have rights. If we're not, we're not. We do comprehend that they call it a rental when you pay income tax or property tax or state taxes. So, me, I haven't heard anything from the county in a while. So, I got another filing I'm going to be sending them pretty soon. And the sheriff, because I got to do that another way. I just got to figure out trying to come up with the resources right now, seeing that they personally went after me so severely. So, and then, they go after your resources really heavy. So, and I know, I'm living that. But I got to look at the one point with all this structure that we're living. Especially this point with Donald Trump coming out and speaking and all these news reporters, trying to freak out because they're trying to justify the bullshit stories that they've been telling with the Clintons all these years. Don't forget, when Clinton's put in Title IV, with that not only did that do that to the children, it is to we the people. And so knowing these rights and responsibilities we have, and this is the major part that we have to educate ourselves and the children in this point. We're not educating the neighbors. It's interesting because, I live in a community where basically neighbors don't talk to neighbors. We're not real neighbors. Everybody's got their head in their little shelter cove. It almost reminds me of the movies I grew up watching in World War II. When the movies were playing, and it was just like that in World War II we're living at today. We know that police officers have no legal or lawful authority. That's been proven by the Superior Court even recently with the shooting in Florida, Parkland shooting. It came out that it has been in all the ABC, CBS newspapers that the police don't have to defend or protect anybody. And it actually said it, the sheriff didn't have authority rights to protect the people that were being shot. Then what's the point of having these public servants then? They don't need a job. Wake up, people. See, it's up to you to start standing up and telling these people no. And that's like what Donald Trump just said on that news brief from ABC. Didn't want to say the code word, but anyhow, what they brought out dealing with what he said, it's very simple. You wanted a democracy, people. You're living the devil's democracy. And that's what we're living, the devil's democracy, if you want to call it the way it is. And that even tells you, and it's already written in the books of how it's going to turn out. Or do you want to change it? We can change it. Donald Trump just told you today, or yesterday, one way how we could actually change the system right away, right around. Dealing with that, letting people take responsibility back to their children. If they spank them, they spank them. I grew up in the days where if father or mother got carried away, beating the shit out of some kid, usually the other kids or some other parent walk up and knock them out. I grew up that way. That's what stunned me when everybody started being so like the way it's developed. We actually took care of things like that. We didn't just, say, somebody, we have to go to a court and we have to sit there and bow our heads and ask you all these permission slips. We grew up in reacting that way in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. 90s. I mean, that's what sort of stuns me with kids today. They don't have any jest of responsibility, and they just think life is supposed to be fun and a party. And then you watch them when they're not paying attention, and then they want to blame everybody for what they're doing and not taking responsibility for their own decisions, not choices. Choices is the legal terminology to get out of a situation. A decision is a responsibility. And so, I mean, it is interesting how they keep changing all these names around in legal terminology or biblical terminology or whatever religion one wants to believe throughout the world. And see, that's the whole point. The thing is, who cares about your religious belief when it comes down to it? Do I care about it? No. Do you really care about it? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But the point is that you and I have equal rights of religion. Your religion is not better than mine. My religion ain't better than yours. Period. But the one thing is, when you look at life, if we're supposed to live equally, we're supposed to respect one another. It doesn't matter what the heck the attitude is. You know, you got to realize that these Democrats and some of these Republicans, they create these race wars for funding. Remember, all wars are created for money, and you live in it. You get to go down and argue at the House and Senate, and public people, and people are out there protesting in the streets, which I would like to see when people were protesting, writing affidavits, sitting there writing affidavits, having them notified, making sure they're stamped and certified into the city or county what's going on. Try to get that message off to a lot of these people who are been up at the Capitol speaking, you know, trying to get them to comprehend. If we sat down at a table, we had 200 people, 100 people, let's say the best odds, we got 40 people sitting at one table and we're writing the affidavits, let's say with the Democratic Party of Oregon, you know, taking away the hunting and fishing rights, the one that's saying that you don't have a right to vote on your arms. But remember, this is the one thing that we need to stop them too. Remember, they are public servants. When they're passing those rules, they technically apply to them because, what is that? All their administrative rules are legally certified, copywritten, privatized for the corporation name. So if you're not a member of that corporation or participating in that baseball game or football game, whatever you want to call it, what do you care? See, a lot of people just started writing the affidavits, just filing on these people. I'm dealing with them, who knows what they're going to try. I've had them put guns to my head, just YouTube videos. I've got, everybody knows a lot of people do know what they've done to me with the videos and stuff that's out there. And not only me, they've done it to others, even others that have been around me. It got to the point where, anybody would come to my house, the cops were driving up and down the street, running license plates on everybody that came to my house, everyone. I don't live on a main street or anything. I live in a little hole in the wall. So, I have actually lived this stuff, what I talk about. With the knowledge that I bring out, I do all this research because I know you have to beat them at their own game. But when it comes down to it, it's hard to say which side one is going to stand. I already know, not saying which side one's going to stand on, good or evil or anything, because we already know that one. We're already dealing with either good or evil anyways, with ourselves or the circumstance. But what really disturbs me is that, they want to push my back against the wall is what they're doing. I've been through this with these guys before, the same exact people. When I recalled the school board in 2002, Doug Hunt, who's a Lincoln County Commissioner who owns Umpqua Bank, what I proved was involved and recalled him for $35 million that was taken out of school funding. You know, did the Democratic Party do their administrative duties that I filed? No. And then they came after me trying to put me in jail for not filing a piece of paper one time. Yeah, and it was like, that didn't work. But it's like, it's interesting. You know, I mean, it's interesting on knowing I guess the baseball field that you're playing in, or what league you're playing in. Because it's like the same thing when you go into court. What court are you going into? 90% of the people have no clue of what court we're going into when it really comes down to it. Because it could be a maritime, it could be a tribunal, it could be a land court, it could be a treaty court. I mean, they got a lot of different these things, and so that's why you always question jurisdiction. And you want it in writing. Ask it for it in writing. What jurisdiction? And, oh, by the way, what are the rules of the courts? And I need them explained. I need them handwritten down for me. I'm not going to sit there and watch a video. It's going to take me time to read and comprehend it. You know, I mean, we're not supposed to be just plugged into a machine like they're doing to us with the 5 gigs today. So it is interesting what we're living today. I mean, I've got 7 electrical towers around me, what they call those 5 gig towers. You know, I'm on a little highway that, well, used to be a little highway, Highway 20. But now all of a sudden we got all this communication in, and eventually, see, they want to be able to put in shipping here, and their goal is, and this is the one thing that people don't comprehend, their goal is to put 30,000 homes in Lincoln County in the next 25 years from foreign countries. I know this. I was at public meetings. And I read these bills, some of these bills, what they were trying to pass and do. Just like when they passed the 914 bill, you know, on the arms issue. See, the one thing, to my comprehend of the Constitution, it takes 2/3 of the vote. So if there's not 2/3 of the House and it's not 2/3 of the Senate, how are those votes considered legal? Because if, let's say, if 30% of the people, the voters, vote, and 70% don't, why the hell is a measure passing through? You know, the voting structure. I mean, we already have term limits. They already have term limits that were set by Congress when first Congress met, 1777. And they put in term limits, maximum 8 years one could serve. House, Senate, whatever. Any government agency was maximum 8 years. Oh, that's right. And it didn't include a retirement package or party favors and everything else. It was to have people to be in the system, you know, or some might call it the Great Spirit like I do. Some might call it God. Those are the only 2 words I would basically go. I can't go through the other thoughts. You know, because if you want to go through Jesus, well, Jesus is supposed to be the son of the baby of God. So, I mean, you know, you don't try to interpret something that ain't supposed to be interpreted. But we got these mass problems that we're dealing with. You know, I'm dealing with this, what they're trying to do with me. I spent 6 hours on the phone yesterday trying to get this mess straightened out that I found Lincoln County screwed me up again. You know, and they keep doing this to me because they're able to get it through because they're getting it done through a computer. And this is the frustration of living this computer age, where these men and women could just punch something in a computer, walk away, and everybody gets screwed up, and you don't even know what's going on. And then when it comes to public servants, trying to deal with them and talk to some of them, most of them like to play stupid or whatever's coming up on a computer. Trust me, they do get what they see on a computer. People say, oh, no, they don't. Yes, they do. The whole system is computer ran. We are been so inundated, and we think we know more than what we know, and we don't even know half the structure that's going around ourselves that we're living right now today. We really don't. You know, we have quite a few things that we have to deal with. You know, when they did that deal going after the arms, I was glad to see some of these people stand up for it. But what disturbed me about it, where was everybody else? We know everybody else works. So everybody comes up with all these lame excuses, but they're willing to go to a Ducks game, a football game, a baseball game, watch a TV program. So they're telling you they don't give a damn about you. I don't care if it's your mother, brother, or sister. If they're not talking about reality, remember that all affects all of us. And that's the one thing that when Donald Trump brought out that thing on the news clip, and this is where people got to realize what Donald Trump just told you. Hey, you guys wanted this democracy instead of the republic. I'm telling you the truth, what's going on here. Straighten the problem out. It's your vote. It's your system. It's your, republic. Straighten the republic out. Get your people back. So he just blatantly told you who's screwing you, who's taking your Social Security money, who's taking your 192 money. Hey, House Resolution 192 money. He just told you where the money's going, where it's going, how it's going to be spent. You know, I mean, it's like I've been working on the deal to do House Resolution 192 so people can do it so it does get this done basically legally so people don't go to jail. But when I'm doing a lot of stuff and I'm doing the research and I'm finding out, well, there's certain ways you can do different things, which I'm looking at, but I want to make sure I'm not going to be like a lot of these other men and women who've done this, walk somebody through something and all of a sudden they end up in jail on it. Hell no. I have a conscience when it comes to that, and I'm sure hell ain't going to tell you to send me $500 to put you in jail. I've already seen that happen to quite a few people. Who sent money to a lot of these people and they ended up in jail. And then when those people, and there's been a lot of people who've helped other people out too. And the thing is, you don't always have to pay them in money. There's always other ways you could do a barter trade or something, but help people out that have helped you out. I mean, we get a lot of people that get greedy too. It's all about me. Me. And so, I mean, there's not, the whole thing is not saying that everybody's that way. We know that. But there are a lot of people, and when they get that way, how are we supposed to handle it and react? That's like, I've been sitting there getting children, here's a way you can do your children. Is we file it, here's the administrative rules. We even looked up the law on Social Security. If you don't want your kid to have a Social Security number until he's 18, you file for that. You make sure that the kid can only do that. And these people are waking up. Some of these men and women already know these administrative rules, and some don't have a problem doing it with you so long as that they know that you're going to stand by your word. Because you can't sit there and go afterwards, well, I didn't know this. Oh, yes, you did. When you make the decision of that ownership or leasing of a property. So, and a lot of us didn't know that until recent years when it really comes down to it. So you can't, go after somebody who didn't really know or somebody who's just learning. But once people start putting the pieces together, it's like we shouldn't be arguing about these things. I watch a lot of these videos while I'm typing and doing research, because I do a lot of research. And because, I got to know the laws. I pay attention when somebody sends me something. I'll read stuff all the time. Sometimes that stuff that is out there, we know that people are throwing stuff out to confuse the general public. Especially, what's going on in the Democrats are literally panicking because people are starting to realize the Democracy Party and the Democrats are not Americans, period. Most of the public employees ain't Americans. We already know that the House and Senate is of the British government of the state. Now, either they are lawful Americans that are working publicly for us, we the people in this state? Or they're 100% foreign identity, that even though both sides still have to register, but who are they working for? So because we know that, and I've sat there and watched these corporations put so much money in the House and Senate, these politicians, you know, lining their pockets. I mean, I can get into a couple ones that I like to do that I had conflicts with years back that are congressmen now, but I'm not going to do that right now. I mean, they are figuring things out. They are looking at reevaluating things. I have to have some faith and to believe in that. And that's the one thing that we have to realize, that sometimes it takes other people to realize their own mistakes. I mean, I figured, you know, we'll see what happens when they try to come after me, because I'm got a few more emails going back to the county this week, because I'm still asking for oaths for the county commissioners, for the county attorney. You know, I mean, I'm still waiting for these things that I'm asking. You know, they were going to email me some other information. Of course, they haven't emailed me nothing. So, I mean, it's like, okay, so are we going to be sitting here neutral? I don't have a problem with that. But I have to know. I don't like to be surprised. None of us like to be surprised by these people. I mean, it is sad that people are like this. You know, I can say it's all God and, you know, it's the devil and evil people. No. Because I can go back to the Treaty of 1213 and go back through the Magna Carta and all that from England. And remember, we the 48 states are not England. You know, even says in the Constitution, we're not supposed to have anything to do with England. Period. End of story. But they were able to put Churchill in that and shove a Churchill down our throats. You know, it's interesting, you know, because either Churchill, you know, we know that Churchill was a double spy. That came out. You know, and of course, you know, you think about it. Back then, his position, media wasn't like it is today. Telecommunications definitely was not like it is today. By far. So, I mean, you know, when you're sitting there and you don't know what's going to happen going back and forth over the ocean, you might as well enjoy a little life. And you can sort of see how some of that happens. You know, and you can see why people would lose honor, faith, respect of one another. You know, but that was called, you know, in the time of war. But that's the whole thing. We're still battling war today when you think about it. Everybody's flying these war flags in their front yards. Where's the peace flag? See, that's the point. Get rid of those flags and put the peace flag up. See, I got to get rid of those other ones I've got and put the peace flag up. I got to get a peace flag. Anybody would like to send one, you know, I would be more than willing to love to be able to put one up, especially with all the new cop buildings going up around me. But definitely, you know, I like to get one of those. Like I said, it's been interesting because, I mean, they've been, you know, I've had my house robbed 4 times. Lots of money, you know, even recently, you know, and then going fighting my disability for the last year, just scraping, well, actually the last 2.5 years I've been really fighting on it, scraping barely by, and by the help of a few kindness of people. And, you know, if that wasn't for the kindness of some people, I wouldn't be here right now. That's a fact. None of us would be where we are if it wasn't for kindness of somebody helping somebody out, that somebody helped us out, that helped us where we're still here. You know, I just get really frustrated when you get all these people out there that are trying to claim that who they are, what they are. You know, and it's like, you know, somebody was saying to me, well, you know, you have all this knowledge and you can be considered an expert and all this. I said, well, to me, that's a title of nobility. I don't want a title of nobility. I just speak the way I am. I'm just a guy that's walking down the trail, you know, and will talk basically to anybody, you know. let's go get a couple fish. It's like the whole thing is that people are supposed to be working with each other. I was one of those that went through the stupid ideology of stupidity of being raised by the thought it takes a village to raise a child. But when you go back to that, that's the same thing Christian Crusades was all about. See, when you step out and you start putting other pieces to the puzzle or other books or other things together and you start looking at things and you start going, it's interesting, because we got so much telecommunications going on today, which, by the way, and I will even say this to Facebook. Thanks, Facebook. I mean, thank you for, doing what you've been doing, because the other point has kept us all informed. Even though that, there's a lot of things that there might not be things that people don't realize what you're even fighting. I mean, it's interesting that, they keep going after these things. I mean, Facebook has done a wonderful service for us when it really comes down to it. And that's the one thing, it's like, Yahoo's another one, MeWe, whatever your connection is on internet. And see, sometimes we don't appreciate some of these nerds that gave us the ideology and technology of the mind that we have today. Oh, did I say something fancy like that? So, stepping out of the movie, watching the picture, stepping out, watching the production, and seeing how one becomes to the other. So it's going to be interesting to see what is going to come here in time. Now, I had a couple people that were talking about they wanted to get off on a couple topics tonight, so that's what we were talking about. We'll see if they're here. So we're going to be opening up the floor here in a minute so we get into a couple of these topics. But that's the whole point about, and the thing is that some of the topics that we're going to get into, some of us do not agree with, some of us agree with. But see, sometimes we have to sit there and step out of the movie, watch the production, analyze with somebody else's mind. Maybe they might see something we don't see. And then sometimes they probably don't see what we see. But, if we're supposed to be equal as men or women, that's the whole point. The Constitution is equal. As soon as people start realizing that, that's the point. It's equal. Man and woman have equal rights. But, it was set up by a contract for we the people of a 48-state structure that turned out of the Civil War. So that contract, you got all these people want to break that contract because they want to have free, open borders. They want to be able to let all their animals come running and raping our land and terrorizing us and starving us out. They already did that to the Indians. They've already done that to the buffalo. They've already done that to every other color or race, you might want to call it. Just because somebody says, oh, it's all about the Indian. No, the color has been on this soil too. It's not just one color or one terminology. Your DNA goes back to your lineage dealing with your history on this soil for your rights. That's why, what do they call that, 23-something DNA test? And that's the one thing that they're doing all this 23 DNA tests, and people don't realize. They're trying to figure out who's lawful, who's legal, who might be even a robot. Because you got to comprehend that they were having droids and all this shit. It wasn't just a couple people that were doing this. You got to look at the mass population at the time in the 1800s, 1700s. Different parts of the world. It wasn't just what was one area which somebody might have thought one area produced. Because we've been a growing parasite to the soil of this planet. So that's the one thing is we realize what we're doing. We can solve the issues. I mean, Trump said it very simple, all right? A stroke of a pen, we could actually end it overnight. You have your senators and congressmen rescind their votes on these children bills and stuff and say if a child is not proven injured. I'm not talking a spank on the ass or a backhand in some kid because some kid got mouthed off to their parents. Sorry, if you're that disrespectful, hey, get a backhand. Don't be disrespectful and you won't get backhand. It's that simple. That's the problem that we have lost in this country. You know, I mean, I went through that with growing up around people that would get rude like that, and people would say, don't do that, and I just reacted. You know, it's like, no, we're not going to put up with that. We're not going to live that way. We're not going to act that way. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, being in the woods, you know. You could be barbarian in the woods. You could be barbarian in your backyard. That's the one thing that is beautiful about life. But, you know, you have to be respectful for your neighbors. Doesn't mean your neighbors should be looking through your curtains and stuff like that. That actually happens today. You know, I've seen that around, even in my own neighborhood with some of the past neighbors that walk around, will snoop through people's doors or stuff like that. Of course, you know, you always got to say something to them. Those are fun when you watch them jump around and scramble. So, I mean, I wanted to get off at a couple other things tonight, but I wanted to get into some of the other things that a couple of people were talking about. So I want to get into that in that era on this some of their thoughts, because if we're going to start putting a lot of this stuff together, you know, we've already got a lot of stuff with Kate Brown. Anybody else would like to, you know, throw their signatures or stuff? I've got the templates up there. You can always download those, autograph them, send them to the Secretary of State, send them to the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., White House, and also to Miss Rosenblum and State Attorney General. Filing, because they're not registered in the 1938 Foreign Registration Act. 60% of public employees are not registered or have even an employee oath in this state, so they're unemployable by their own administrative rules. And believe me, I've talked to several employees here lately, too, with the scramble that's going on, and people are going, holy shit, if we'd known that, we would have registered. Because the 1938 Foreign Agent Registration Act is real. It is serious. But you have to make it serious. You have to file it. You have to make it real. You know, people say, well, I filed it and I haven't heard nothing. I've got stuff that I filed a couple months back. I still haven't heard things. Some of them I don't want to hear from them. I just much rather just go fishing and enjoy life, to tell you the truth, instead of going through what I might go through or what my paranoia mind might be doing to me without being real. Who knows? But, I mean, I got to look at life and take life the way it is right now. So I'll be waiting for, you know, some questions and answers on my end coming up. And I don't have a problem getting that out because, like I said, when they destroyed a lot of my life, I figured might as well put a lot of it, some of it, to an open book to the general public, because this way you can see exactly what they treat people by. That's why I say the things I say. You know, that's why when people say, oh, you know, I don't want to get into the prayers and all the other stuff, you know, I deal with the reality. You know, I deal with in front of my face or what's there at the time. You know, never grew up dealing with the Tooth Fairy and Mary Poppins and that type of stuff that my mind could always just run, like some people can wander in that direction. So, anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor because supposedly we're supposed to have a couple that are bringing up some ideas. So,
all participants are unmuted.
Yeah, floor is yours.
Do you believe in that the federal government is operating as a corporation? And you go into a court they're trying to drag you into their jurisdiction, and to do that, they've got to get you to agree to the all capital letters, birth certificates. Do you think is that right?
That's part of it. Part of it, but they're trying to get me to comply with their structure. It's like, the state of Oregon has administrative rules that are copyrighted. You know what I mean, right?
Right. All clothes are copyrighted.
Right. So why am I supposed to be under their policy when I don't get not one of their services technically? But the other point, doesn't matter if I get services or not, because I'm entitled to services because it's generally paid for out of the funding, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. You didn't agree to the contract, and all people that in a contract have to be a mutual benefit.
Right.
It's not a contract. Yep.
Mhm. So when they start using my name the way I've done it, it's identity theft, and I filed on it. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah, it's identity theft. That's correct. They've got multiple franchise using our name, and they're selling it.
Right.
They found in England they were doing that back in like the 1500s. They put people in settlements, and then they would use them and put them in workhouses, and they would buy and sell these people. And they were, if you wanted to use one of these slaves, you had to pay annuity. And they thought that slavery was going on for a long time.
Oh yeah. People will sit there and go, well, the natives had slaves too, and it's like, well, you got to realize that. All right, we could go back 100 years. Let's say even 100 years ago, we still have, let's say even go back 20 years ago, we still got slaves today in a sense. So the bottom line of that, if you're still slaving away for the basic, fee that you're getting at McDonald's, and that's, some people call that slaving away. To me, that's you're doing something productive in exchange for your pay. So in other words, you're sitting there making earnings if you want to buy a Mercedes or something like that, you're earning your extra instead of being what we've been forced on today. And it's really disturbing. Go ahead.
It's all disclosed. It's above the table.
Right.
That's all right. But if you're your slave and you don't know it, and they're buying and selling you, and as a corporation, you're being, using your name and opening up these other businesses in your name. You're making money off of it. And you're not benefit, and so that's not a contract. No, and that's the one thing that the general people don't comprehend, that the Constitution is a contract that was there to protect us from the criminal elements. Is the one way to look at it when it really comes down to it. It's the 19th enumerator powers. We had a holding company, which was in 1776, where we formed the United States of America, and then we formed another holding company in 1889, which was the United States.
Yeah, but that was formed by the Democrats and the bankers.
Okay.
That was not formed by we the people. We didn't know that was formed until 5 years afterwards. And that's part of what we're still fighting today.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is the one thing that everybody wants to get into arguing and stuff, even like with Lincoln, and it's like people got to realize what it was like at that time of the area and the way people were taught to believe, even including religiously back then. That's the one thing that people do not comprehend, that with the religious part of that. Because some people were taught religious, people were not taught religious ways. But see, we were not living at that time, witnessing it at that time, so it's hard to go by the hearsay, what people say, because it's like sitting in the round table. You start,
at one end and it changes at the other.
Right.
And at least
like,
that's right. Go ahead.
The Constitution was to restrict the federal government, which was the British government. They were called residents.
Right.
And they were not allowed to own land. Where
Mm-hmm.
we, the way they saw us, non-British, we were called non-resident aliens.
That's right.
And that's the classification we're in. And that's pretty indicative of itself. You know, what that to this day that still holds true.
Well, also too, don't forget that as part of the 14th Amendment, that they classified on citizen, large C, small c, so that way you knew if you were an immigrant or if you were actually had a bloodline and had actual structure to this soil.
Right.
And that's go ahead. Go ahead.
That was that's the 14th Amendment. They basically took all the black slaves and brought them into the federal government, and using the term, you know, they made everybody a classification of a citizen, and they deliberately blurred the lines to let everybody think they're a citizen too. And
I know what they did. Oh no, I know. I wrote a thesis on the whole structure on that. I even brought the evidence out with the 14th Amendment, even where it wasn't passed, but it was passed administratively, and why?
It wasn't ratified. It
was never ratified. But it was passed administratively.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean by administratively?
No.
Okay. What I'm saying is the House and Senate passed the 14th Amendment and said it's administratively passed. We passed it, even though it's never ratified. We didn't have enough votes to ratify it to stand at the quorum. But now we're able to pass it to protect our bloodline, so at least that we can protect, so our children and grandchildren would survive on this soil. And that was part of dealing with the British men back then.
They were protecting their bloodline. You lost me. They were protecting their bloodline. Whose bloodline are we talking about, the British or the Americans?
We're talking some of the British and the Americans at the time, because they saw what was coming down the point when they were trying to open up the borders back then. So remember, we just got through with Jackson just fighting the Muslims.
Right.
Okay, and remember, that war was still going on for basically 20 years. So, I mean, that's the one thing that when you get all the pieces of history and you start putting the strings together, you know, that's where it comes into place where you start going, huh? Because these men passed the 14th Amendment so that way they knew that their children would have a bloodline stake to the foundation of the Constitution. I mean, this is the way I've read it. This is the way I've understood it. This is through the readings I've done, through the writings I've done, and copying their own administrative rules, as well as taking legislative council opinions and reading all this stuff and putting it all together. You know, I mean, that's the one thing. I don't know what TV is, so, I mean, that's all I do is read, write, and do this.
Yeah.
But
to this day,
go ahead.
They'll ask you, are you a U.S. citizen? And that's a certain term, definition to that. That means you are part of the U.S. corporation.
Right, you're flying the American flag. You're part of the military. Yes.
Right, and that's called a U.S. citizen. And we're, you know, we are just, you know, state. We used to be referred to as just, you know, Virginians or North Carolinians or something like that. We never referred to ourselves as any kind of a citizen.
You didn't give yourself a title of nobility called citizenship. I'm an African American. I'm a white American. You know. And that's the one thing people don't get. That's the way they looped you back in the 14th Amendment, how sweet they did it. And people didn't realize, you know. I want a title of nobility. Go ahead.
FDR, he got us into the Social Security system, but whenever everybody was starving to death, it was the Great Depression in his time, and so he started the Social Security. And in order to get Social Security, you had to check a box, a U.S. citizen, and that was a contract.
Yeah, but see, there was 2 boxes on that. One said U.S. citizen, one said American. And I remember when I checked mine when I went to work. Because I never paid into tax system. The only thing I ever paid was into Social Security, and Social Security is a private contract for Americans only if you actually read it.
Right. It's not for everybody. It's basically supposed to be for the federal government.
No. That's separate. That was a separate deal. I mean, I used to work for the federal government. That was a total separate deal compared to Social Security. No, Social Security was separate for Americans only. It had nothing to do with the federal government, the state government, the Chinese government, whatever territory. Social Security was set up for lawful Americans only. It was designed under the British maritime structure of piracy. So if you lost a limb or if you lost an eye, all right, you got a small part of that booty, as they called it back then, to compensate you so that way you could help take care of yourself when you were aging and older instead of having to rely on somebody else. So in other words, you got financially compensated to take care of yourself compared to like today. You know, the Democrats say, well, you need to have this, that, and the other thing. I'm disabled. Why am I suffering? Where is the money? We know that they took the money. I mean, I've witnessed these Senate and House bills for 20 years passing where they've been pocketing the money in.
Yeah, and it was at 1933. FDR took the gold. He confiscated all the gold. Mm-hmm. But from one guy said, if it wasn't enclosed in the actual bill itself, but if you look up who it pertained to, it was you will find that it was not for the actual citizen.
It wasn't for we the people. It was for the British government and the bankers.
Exactly.
And that's the one thing that people got talked into giving up their gold. So the bankers are going, we're going to take it and put it in our vaults. We're going to take it and put it in our vaults. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things that we've been miscommunicated with history that has been run around in circles on us. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really scary. It's like Social Security.
You work for the government, and I was wanting to know what do you think? What do you think about these agencies like the CIA?
Wait a minute, did you just say I work for the government?
Well, I thought you said you did work for the government.
No.
Oh, okay.
I allegedly worked for the government once in California back in the 80s, but I was a firefighter back there.
Oh, okay. Forget that then. I thought you.
And I have been elected official in my past, but I don't work for them now. I have been elected official that when I proved the fraud, how they were embezzling money from the people.
Okay.
So no, I've never been on the wrong side of the people.
Yeah, you haven't. You're not the ones that was perpetrating the fraud on everybody, trying to.
Yeah, exactly. No way. You know, that's the one thing is that dealing with that today. I mean, I'm living this where they're trying to do what they're doing to me now. You know, I mean, otherwise, you know, why would I sit there and try to put myself through? Heart issues. I live on nitroglycerin and nitro patches and different heart pills.
Start taking a lot of garlic. Start taking a lot of garlic at night on empty stomach.
Oh, I live on garlic.
There you go.
I know. I mean, but see, you know, there's certain things you're able to grow. There's certain things you're not able to grow. So it catches up whatever you're able to do. You know, because I mean, I'm still trying to, you know, get more growing on my land, so that we're soil, so I could eat.
Yeah,
but anyhow.
Okay, I'll let you go, Ed. It's nice talking to you.
Oh yeah. So anyhow, anybody else? Because I thought we had another guy that was going to bring up some things tonight, but I guess he never showed up. Okay. Well, that's the way that one turns out. But anyhow, we want to get into the structures. Like I get people that will say, Ed, you get into statute codes and administrative rules a lot. Well, the reason why I do this is so that way I know their rules. You know their rules. We want to know their rules, and in that way, when we go like to the city council meetings and stuff, we can question them. I have noticed in the media there's a lot more city councils that people are, going to, speaking up, standing up in these city council meetings. Some of these men and women are, you know, being totally rude, yelling and screaming, instead of asking these men and women the right financial questions. And this is the point that we've got to get to the point where we've got to get people starting to ask the right questions. You know, and go ahead.
This is Southern.
Oh, there you go. All right. I thought you were going to be here a little while ago.
I was here. I listened to you talk.
Oh, okay. Well, you finally chimed in. Anyhow, you had a couple points that you wanted to run off tonight, so I'm going to turn that over to you and let you go on that, because that was a good point that you brought up earlier.
I do like my paper, the second paper I sent you.
Oh, man, what do you think? I already told you what I felt about that.
The second one.
Maybe I haven't seen that one. How long ago did you send that?
This morning.
Well, I think I saw that this morning when I talked to you this morning. The one that I wanted... Huh?
You didn't talk to me this morning. You were supposed to, but you didn't.
Oh, okay.
I sent you the declaratory judgment on law.
Oh, no, I haven't gone through that one yet.
Oh, okay. I didn't think so.
Yeah, no problem. But you were going to touch into some of that, too, with people. I haven't got a chance to get into that, but we'll get into it. So I can't...
Okay.
I can't speak.
Yeah. This is my opinion, and you can take it for what it's worth, okay? You guys want to go in these courtrooms and challenge these judges. All right, let me give you some advice that what I found out that works. Never make the judge your enemy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's a moderator. That's all that judge is supposed to be doing, is being a mediator moderator, okay, in that courtroom. All right, you can do more. You have 5 great powers. Ed is tapped into one of them. All right, that's the Freedom of Information Act. You would be absolutely astounded what I have learned sending out Freedom of Information Acts for the last 20-something years. Okay, and I still send them out today. Every time I come up with a question, I create a Freedom of Information Act, and I send it out to whoever, and I don't guess at what these people are doing. I ask them to tell me what they're doing. And they will, because they're supposed to do that. All right? That's their job. All right? The second one is order of discovery. All right? The third is order of interrogatories. Properly written, with the right clause in that thing, they can't squelch it. Okay, you need to look up. Exculpatory evidence. If he withholds this evidence, it's vital evidence that I need. Okay, for me to mount a proper defense in this courtroom. If you withhold it, you're breaking the exculpatory evidence rule. All right, you're committing all kinds of crimes at that point. Evidence tampering. All right, obstruction of justice. You put all this in there, a nice little clause. He's going to answer everything on your page that you want.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The fourth one is a subpoena. Again, use these things. Ask questions, people. You start asking the right questions. Ed's seeing one of my documents. He hasn't opened the other one yet. What'd you think of it, Ed?
Oh, the other one I liked. I'm looking at putting that one out. I already told you that.
Yeah, start asking questions. All right? Subpoenas. Learn how to use a subpoena correctly. Subpoena to Tantum is one of the greatest things in the world. You can subpoena all kinds of nice stuff from them prosecuting attorneys. And they got to answer it. If they go to squash the subpoena, oops, excuse me, we're right back. We're back in exculpatory evidence. Evidence tampering. Suppression of evidence. All right? No problem. Believe me, you write the right clause, they will answer it. And the greatest one of all is a declaratory judgment. Never go in that courtroom and attack that judge. Your Honor, all right, there's a little thing called the vagueness doctrine. All right? This court is vague. All right? Please answer these questions for me. I just handed him a 7-page document. They don't want to answer. They never want to answer it. Okay? Because they have to put down what's going on paper. And they don't want to do that. Once you start asking the right questions, and you can send the Freedom of Information Act to a court. I've done it and got answers. All right? As long as you're asking questions, you can't get in trouble. There's no such thing, if you don't understand something, you're supposed to ask questions. Let them cut their own throat. Don't go in there attacking people in anything. Go in there and simply ask the right questions. Now, if you need to learn who these people are, who you are. The greatest attack you can do, all right, is on that prosecuting attorney, especially in these small claims. I call them suits. Okay? If you check your state laws and you call up your state prosecuting attorney, they will tell you in a heartbeat. They don't do traffic. So who is that clown standing there in that suit? You want to start asking the right questions of that man. And one of them is that he's a bona fide prosecuting attorney. You want the state attorney certification of evidence that he is a prosecuting attorney. I've had him turn around and walk out of the courtroom because they can't give it to you. Most of the when you do a traffic ticket and stuff like that, all right, the guy up there, he's either he's general counsel for the city, okay? He's a private attorney who just handles their legal affairs, okay? Or he works for the police department.
Okay. Yeah, we know all that, but I want to get in. You were going to get into how to do some of the process.
Which process you want to know about?
You were going to talk about doing the declaratory judgment process.
Well, I've given you an example. The declaratory judgment is real simple. You ask a question.
Right.
Under the vagueness doctrine, you got to look that up. If you're setting him under the vagueness doctrine, if this judge doesn't answer you, you're setting him up for a constitutional challenge.
Right. But that's what we're working on, these guys. Yep.
All right, and that's the last thing he wants is to be dragged into a federal court under a constitutional challenge. He don't want that. So tell me what kind of court I'm walking into. Tell me what kind of laws you're using. Tell me if these laws are copyrighted. Tell me what laws apply to me. Tell me what laws I can use this courtroom as a defense. Okay? This kind of stuff you got to be asking.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to answer it because these are common law or war courts. And they don't want to answer this shit. Even if they were civil common law courts, they still don't want to answer it. And that's pretty much it. Leave the judge alone. Make the judge your friend and make the prosecuting attorney the cop your enemy. By the way, you can do the same thing to the cop. Send him discoveries and interrogatories. All right, send his police department. That thing with the Scott Peterson, I'm sending out through Freedom of Information Act to the police department tomorrow morning. Well, not tomorrow morning, tomorrow Sunday. But Monday morning, I'm shooting them off the local sheriff's department. Okay? You're telling me you have absolutely no responsibility to protect me whatsoever. Okay? What is your job description? I want a full description of what your job is and what we're paying this man. And I've already done a Freedom of Information Act on him FOIA request. He's making almost $150,000 a year. If that guy had retired, he'd be making over $100,000 a year. What are we paying this man for? I want his job, your job description, what you're supposed to be doing for this money. And I'm going to get an answer. I've already got an example of, is anybody familiar with commissioned, like a commissioned officer? If you read your state constitution, all right, your sheriff is a commissioned officer. You may vote him in, but that man is wearing military stars on his collar. All right, most of them are flying gold fringe flags in their offices and on their shirt. Okay, if you look at them real closely, they're military flags. Now, I've already contacted mine with the Freedom of Information Act. I have what they're using for force. I have their commissions. All right, I have their oath of office, and I can tell you where they got their authorization to be a police officer. I got all the paperwork on them. Always asking the right questions. And they got to send it to you, people. Unless they can show bona fide proof of claim that it's classified or top secret. You're going to have a heart attack, but you can find out with these great powers. You just got to ask the right questions. Now, you were talking a little bit ago about that peace flag. Please tell me you're not talking about that cutter flag, because that is not a peace flag. Okay? I can't go into something right now, but believe me, it's not a peace flag. Anything without a gold fringe on it and without an eagle, a spear, an acorn, or a ball on it, okay, is a peace flag. Under Title 4 and 36. Everything else is military flags. All right, you fly just a regular flag without any of the ornaments, no gold fringe. That's a peace flag. That's a civilian flag. Okay.
Hello.
Go ahead. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello?
I thought the peace flag was the one that was going vertical, because the one with the fringe is the maritime.
Nope.
The one that's with the fringe.
No,
that's
Let her finish first. Let her finish first.
Let her finish, otherwise you are muted. She's asking a
Thank
question.
you.
She's asking a question. We're trying to keep things polite here.
He knew what I was going to say, so let him finish.
Go ahead. No, finish. Go ahead and finish, and then we'll turn it back over to him. Let him respond, but finish what you're saying.
Okay, I thought that the fringe flag is the maritime. The other one, even whether it has fringe, well, it can't have fringe, that's the one of occupation. But the flag that it has the stars on it, but it goes vertical instead of horizontal, that is the peace flag. But maybe I'm wrong. Correct me.
Okay. If you get into Title 4 and 36, the United States Code, you will see that is for civilian flags. All right? You get into Army Regulations 840-10. I can't remember the other ones offhand. Anything with a gold fringe on it, and a eagle, a spear, any kind of spear, or they got about 4 or 5 of them, by the way. And one they call a spade spear. That's the one you really don't want to run from. Okay? And the acorn is a marker, and the ball is for outside use. So if you're going to fly a flag, you don't want to fly a flag with any one of those 4, what they call finals on them. You want to get a flagpole without a final. And you want to fly a flag with no gold fringe. As Ed just found out, that gold fringe indicates a regiment flag. He did a Freedom of Information Act and got that information. I've had it for quite some time. But it's when I did my Freedom of Information Act, I told Ed that he would not get an answer from his legislators. My legislators sent me to Department of Military, the Pentagon, all right, under something called the Department of Civil Affairs.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you might want to look that up. Department of Civil Affairs. I talked to a very nice lady up there. I remember her name was Tracy. We talked for many times, and she sent me all the information that she could get her hands on for about 6 months. All right, on that flag. So you got the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, and the Coast Guard comes under Title Fort Kane. Now the Coast Guard flies a different flag except in time of war. Okay, but that flag that you guys call the cutter flag, do not fly that thing on your house. All right, don't do it because it's very bad. You can literally be arrested for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, like I said, get you one without the gold fringe, and don't put no ornaments on it. Okay. As a matter of fact, I'll send something to Ed that shows you what the ornaments are. All right. If you want to put something on that flag, you want me to tell you what to put on it? Put a cross on it. You think I'm joking you? Now, under hold on one second. Hang on a second, Ed. Let me pull something up here. I don't want to.
While you're doing that, but he's got a point. That is a good point. Put a cross up top of that top of the flag. That is a good idea when you think about it, because most people, believe in their religious beliefs, so a cross is part of their religious beliefs. So that's a simple solution that nobody could truly take offense to. I mean,
also,
go ahead.
Also on that cross, there's a separation of power.
Hang on, one at a time. Raise your hand one at a time. Go ahead, finish, and then we'll let the lady speak.
If you put a cross on there, remember, all right, the government has no authority over religion. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not supposed to, but what happened that they have? Because everything that they're doing is unconstitutional, just like Sessions talking about Trump being able to kidnap somebody else's children. You understand?
No. He's not talking about kidnapping somebody else's children. Immigrants don't have rights. They don't have a right to come in our country to eat right now. That's the point, what he's talking about.
Native Americans.
They don't have a right here, so why are they coming here?
Hold on a second. Do you know why they take your footprints whenever you come into this country? When you're born, do you know why they take your footprints and put it on that paper? Look up wet foot, dry foot policy.
Yeah.
The second that person steps foot in this country on U.S. soil, he is protected by the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
He is protected. If he's 1 foot outside this country, no, he is not protected. Okay? Hold on.
So, but go ahead. Let the lady speak. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. First of all, you know about the $5 Indians. Those were immigrants that they took away the rights, the so-called government took away the rights of the Native Americans. And those were indigenous aborigines that were here before Columbus, before everybody.
Oh,
and
yeah.
But you understand, this Constitution, especially the organic Constitution, it's been changed. It's been added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided. And that's the only one that I'm going to accept. And I'm not no respecter of no man.
I get you on that one, but the point is Queen of England in 1993 restamped the United States Constitution as the law of this land. The Queen of England filed it in archives.
But did she file in the organic or the one that they done changed, added? divided, subtracted, and multiplied.
Organic and National Archives. I publicized it in the newspaper and filed it in the Oregon State House and Senate myself.
First time for a long time that I've been on here with you, so I don't know what you've done, sweetie.
You want to? I'm going to tell you how dangerous a Freedom of Information Act is. Years ago,
they won't let me get one or do one.
What, a Freedom of Information Act?
That's right.
Yeah, go ahead. Speak the way you're talking. We'll get back to her in a minute.
I'll tell you how dangerous they are if you ask the right question. I put one in many years ago, about 99, 2000. I asked the most dangerous question that could ever be asked. You know what that question was? How, under the Constitution of this country, having read it, did we the people lose our sovereignty to the government? The person I asked that of sent me back a copy of the Constitution. I have it in storage. Article 1, Section 8. All right. The militia clause is underlined and highlighted.
Okay.
That guy was telling me something right there.
Right.
Right there. How they got authority over us. Now, there is an insignia. Okay? It is under the laws of war. It's under bombardment by naval forces in time of war. Hague, 9th Convention, October 8, 1907. Chapter 2, General Provisions, Article 5. All right? All right. In bombardments by naval forces, all the necessary measures must be taken by the commander to spare as far as possible sacred edifices, buildings used for artistic, scientific, and charitable purposes, historical monuments, hospitals, and places where the sick and wounded are collected on the understanding that they are not to be used at the same time for military purposes. It is a duty, listen carefully, it is the duty of the inhabitants to indicate such monuments, edifices, and places by visible signs which shall consist of large, stiff, rectangular panels divided diagonally into two colors, triangle portions, the upper portion black and the lower portion white. Field Manual 27-10 MCRP 5-12.121A 46. All right. Such buildings to display signs specific in Naval Treaty A. Treaty provisions. It is a duty of the inhabitants to indicate such monuments, edifices, and places by visible signs, which shall consist of a large, stiff, rectangular panel divided diagonally into two colored triangle portions, the upper portion black and the lower portion white. Hague 9th Convention, Article 5, second paragraph. Any questions?
No, I know what it is, and I'm glad you're reading it out for those other listeners that will get. Because then that way it helps them to comprehend and put the pieces together of the puzzle.
May I ask you, where did you read that again so I may look it up, please?
Okay, yeah, go ahead and reread it so she can pencil it in.
To reread it, just where he found that information so that I may read it for myself.
All right. This is the bombardment by naval forces in time of war. Hague 9th Convention, all right, Article October 18th, 1907.
1907.
Field Manual 27-10. Article 46.
What happened to you?
I'm here. I'm waiting on
okay. Oh, you're just catching up with your eyes. Okay.
I wanted to you reading that.
I'm going to give you a third one.
But
Convention for the Allocation.
Hang on, ma'am. Let him finish. Go ahead, finish.
Convention for the Allocation of the Condition of the Wounded in Armies in the Field. 22 Stat 940 Treaty Series 3 says this is a treaty. Article 5. The inhabitants of a country who may bring help to the wounded shall be respected and shall remain free. The generals of the belligerent powers shall make it their care to inform the inhabitants of the appealed address of their humanity and of their neutrality, which will be the consequences of it. In plain words, if you're caring for a sick and wounded of either side, you're neutral. Any wounded man entering or taken care of in that house shall be considered as on protection thereto. Any inhabitants who shall have entertained wounded in his house shall be exempt from the quartering of troops as well as from a part of the contributions of war which it may be imposed. Hello?
Yeah, I know. Rose, you got any thoughts on that?
No, because I would like to see a field manual because I've never seen one. That's what, but maybe I can find one on the internet. I don't know. I just never seen one. That's why.
Oh yes,
okay.
Me, they're out there on the internet.
Do you have one? If well, okay. Well, I'm just saying, if you had one that is on your fingertips, you could send it to me. I can send it to her.
Okay. As soon as we get down here, I'll do that.
Thank you. What's your name?
Because you still got my email, right, Rose?
I'm going to need to get it just to make sure. I'd rather just to make sure. Because I was looking up, I thought this was with the American constitutional structure. So that's why I grabbed a book trying to see where's that at. Because, I carry the Organic Constitution in my purse. I carry the Citizens Rule Book. I even carry the Common Law Handbook for jurors.
Let me tell you a secret. All right? The Constitution. My name? They call me Southern Command. They call me Southern.
Southern, okay.
Let me tell you guys a secret. Okay? What is law of the land?
The law of the land is the general misconceptions is that any statute passed by legislation bearing the appearance of law constitutes the law of the land. The U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and any statute to be valid must be in agreement. It is impossible for a law which violates the Constitution to be violated. This is succinctly stated as follows. All laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void. Mayberry versus Madison filed you. Do I need to say
Madison
anything else?
Paper, yes. Now I'm going to ask a question. All right, what else is law of the land?
The word of Yahshua Yamashiach.
What else is law of the land? Treaties.
Thank you.
Law of the land.
That's right.
I sent you, Ed, a list of treaties. All right? Remember one thing. Common law, okay, of nations. If enough of nations sign the treaty, even if you don't sign it, under the common law of nations, you're still bound by that treaty. All right? What treaties do we make? Laws of war.
Mm-hmm.
The law of the land. Once you get into this,
well, that's why we're always in constant war.
Everywhere. Huh?
I said that's why we're always in constant war.
Well, a lot of people don't know this, but I did my Freedom of Information Act, and every 6 months, I think it is, your governor, okay, of your state, you're not going to like this. Thank God you can't find me. Your governors of your states out there signed a declaration of state emergency.
Yes, we know that.
Huh?
Yes, they did sign a Corporation Emergency Act. Yes, a Corporation Emergency Act.
No. They
can't sign for me. They cannot sign for me.
The dead legal fiction. Corporations cannot walk, talk, or make decisions. They are defined by a piece of paper in a safe somewhere called a charter. They have no soul to save or somebody right.
Well, let me say something here. He's signing that piece of paper because the people of that state are in insurrection and rebellion. Okay? Against the
I
laws.
can't come into your house and tell you how to live.
Well, it's not a question of how to live. All right?
Yes,
I understand what you're saying, Ed.
Go ahead.
But I'm telling you what. But if you don't understand what they're doing, you can't play with them. And there's been the problem. Nobody out here understands what they're doing. So everybody goes in these courts. All right, they think they're Admiralty Maritime or this or that, and they fight them that way. All right, and they lose and they get mad, and these guys they're doing this, and they're criminal. They're not criminals. You have to find the law they're using. That's why I created that declaratory judgment. I want the judge to define the law he's using in this court.
Gotcha.
I want him to define that. I'm not going to second guess him. I'm not going to look at Black's Law Dictionary. I learned a long time ago. If you look on that declaratory judgment at all the different types of laws they can use, on you in a courtroom, there's no way you can possibly get it. So you ask them to
legalese for them. It's not for us.
Wait a minute, one at a time.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, but say excuse me next time, please. Let's say excuse me.
It's not a question of legalese. It's not a question of that.
Wait a minute.
Leave the legalese alone. Ask the right questions. If you ask the right questions, these guys are going to go, wait a minute. If he's asking this question, this is why I don't put this paperwork out. Because a lot of times, if you ask the right question, that judge is going to say, well, if he's asking the right question, then he must already know the answer, and I ain't going to play with him.
Yeah, they need
That's a good response.
Yeah, well, they got to do one or two things. What do they got to do? Respond or dismiss the case. Answer the question, dismiss the case.
All right now. People don't know the only constitutional court in America is the International Court of Trade, which was created because no foreign nation or government would trade with corporate United States until they provided a way for those foreign nations to enforce their trade agreements with America. Historically, the World Court was created to provide nations with a venue to enforce their trade agreements, but the corporate United States refused the court's invitation to participate because they were denied control over the court. That's why we're mucked now. All of the other courts are pseudo courts or fiction, simply are corporate administrative offices designed to resemble courts, and all of their judges are simply executive administrators designed to resemble judges.
Okay, let him put his 2 cents in. Let's go ahead and carry this conversation. Go ahead.
Okay, let me tell you something. First of all, these are administrative courts. Yes, they're operating under what is called the common law of war. Common law, everybody thinks is people's law. It's not. I ran the history of the common law all the way back to the Roman Empire. Okay? Common law, is what is used when there is no law. When there is no actual law, Okay? That's whenever they use common law. All right? But now, when would there be no actual law? Let me tell you a secret. There's a book out there. It is called Military Government and Martial Law. All right? It was written by an advocate general. Okay? I think I sent it to you. You need to get that book and read chapter 9. Anytime a country is at war or state of national emergency, the laws are suspended. What kind of courts we got? Common law courts of war. They aren't using law in these courts. And this is what people out here haven't got yet. I've said in hundreds and hundreds of courts, I've never heard a statute, code, or ordinance quoted in that courtroom. And people don't, they stand there like, and they never bring this up. I bring it up because there's rules of law. And if you go, tomorrow night we'll get into those 2 documents I gave you, and I'll explain them to everybody. Hold on to them. Okay, Ed?
Excuse me.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening. Right here.
All right, I'll explain them to you. There is rules of law, okay, that these people have to follow.
Okay, hang on a minute. There was somebody in the background. Hang on a minute. There was somebody in the background speaking. Let's see if that guy wants to speak or not.
Can I interject real fast?
Yeah, go ahead. I heard you. Go ahead.
Okay, I just completed reading a book, Excellence in Common Law, and I got to disagree that common law is no law. Magna Carta was based in common law, and in 1066, and it's called Viking law, or folks like the People's Law, and they have their that's all been it has precedents. They've used case law to set it up, and it is absolutely a bona fide law, And our nation was founded under common law. The 7th Amendment says in cases of common law, the judge will not hear cases over $20 according to the common law. And our founding fathers were well aware of the Roman civil law and how they creep in, and that's what happened to our country. Is they were using the British were bringing their admiralty law and coming into these inland waterways,
right,
and using this law on us, and it stuck. They managed to get it in, and that's what they've been running on us. But you can evoke common law. You can go to uscourts.gov, page 4. It says all U.S. courts are common law courts. But of course, you can misconstrue that. See, they deliberately they do that because they call case law common law. It's not the same thing. Common law is much more. That's habeas corpus. That's all your rights, and you have a right to face your accuser. That's all common law. It's not just case law. And I stand down. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfect because see, the other point is case law. And what you just brought up dealing with common law definitely are 2 different things. And actually, there are 3 different things because people think that common law gives one a common right when if you actually do the research, the judge makes a decision of common law. And this is one thing that always gets to me is that people will sit there and argue with you, and it's like, what are you talking about? The judge makes a decision. You're saying common law, and you're giving the administrator of an Article 1 court authority over your life, your freedom, your assets.
Well, let me explain something to you.
Under the Constitution, I'm going to get into something.
Okay, under the Constitution, the government can only create an inferior court. Read the Constitution. Only create inferior courts. All right? All inferior courts are military. Ex parte Milligan. Go read it. I ain't making this up. They tell you right in there the 3 types of courts.
No, that's the one thing. we know that there's 3 administrative branches too, but technically there's 4. It's called We the People, who own the rest of the other 3.
Yeah, that's what
we own the military. We own these things, and that's the point that we have given over our rights over to some foreign dictatorship that we think we're being freed by elected and public servants, by police officers, by all these other military personnel that's throughout the cities and counties. And don't forget, those military personnel actually includes your scientists. All your scientists are military personnel. That's your biologists, the vets and all that. They're all military structure. And that goes...
I'm going to read this.
All right, make it quick.
This. All right. This is a maximum of law. Where there is no direct law, the opinion of the judge ought to be taken, or reference made to similar cases. This is where they're getting their case law on you, because there is no direct law right now. Romans 4:15, King James Version. Because the law worketh wrath, for where no law is, there is no transgression. Hold on a second. I want to find one more.
Okay.
All right. Listen to what this says. All right. For among arms, the law falls mute, but it is more popular rendered. As in times of war, the law falls silent. What they're doing to you is by putting you under the state of national emergency, the constitutional rights that you think you got are silent. The laws are silent. Okay? That's why when they take you in these courtrooms, they never ever quote the law to you, tell you that your means rea of the criminal provisions, your criminal mind, right, or the fact that how you violated the conduct that violated that statute. They tell you were driving without a license. I look at them and say, so what? Prove I can't. And they can't do it.
Right.
It's that simple. You can't bring the law in the courtroom that we got a problem.
Right.
First time I did that, Judge Lippman said, what did you just say? I told him, prove I can't do it. And the judge, I didn't make him my enemy. He turned around and he looked at the suit standing there next to me. And he just looked at him. The guy's like, he didn't know what to say. He'd never been asked that question before. The most dangerous question in the courtroom, especially when you get up there, okay, and you got that suit standing there. I keep calling him a suit because most of these people are not prosecuting attorneys.
That's true.
Outside of the first 6 questions out of your mouth, all right, when that suit walks up there, all right, the first 6 questions out of your mouth should pertain to him, not the judge. And the next question is, what did I do wrong? Oh, well, you did this. You were driving without a license. Okay. Show me the law that applies to me. Listen carefully. Show me the law that applies to me, all right, that you claim I violated, all right, and prove I violated.
They can't.
If you don't think you're going to get, all right, the deer in the headlight look, I actually had a judge on a driving without a license charge look up the prosecuting attorney right in open court and said, this one I got to hear. And the suit stood there. He can't. Go to your courts and listen to what's going on. These people never bring the law in the courtroom.
No, they don't.
When you walk in a courtroom and you're charged with anything, the first thing that's supposed to be handed to you is a grand jury indictment or a bill of information. You walk into these courtrooms, the judge looks at you and says, do you understand the charges brought against you? Has anybody ever said no? Don't ever say no, because he'll put a warrant out for you. Because understand doesn't mean stand under the judge. It means you understand the charges. You're present in that military court, all right, to answer for those charges. All right? So you leave the judge alone. You attack the prosecutor, you attack the cop. First question out of your mouth, that guy, that student walks up there, who are you? I'm prosecuting attorney. Prove it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to prove it. That's when you pull out your little motion of dismiss, hand it to the judge, okay, Your Honor, motion to dismiss in favor of the defendant. The plaintiff isn't present in court. Well, he's standing. No, he hasn't put his name and everything on record. He's not here. Plaintiff is not present in this court. Who's the plaintiff? The state is the plaintiff. The state is the plaintiff. You got to ask the right questions. Really?
Right, and we know the state can't be the plaintiff, so they're screwed. Exactly.
That's why I never walk into a courtroom without my motions to dismiss. Believe me, you ask the right questions in front of that judge, hand him that motion, what's the guy going to say? I don't know who this man is. He's a suit. He walked in over here. I don't know who he is. I need to see some evidence. I need to see I need to see an ID. I need to see your a business card, proof of employment. As you work for the state attorney's office, I need to see your bar card. You need to see these things before you even let him speak. And he's not going to give it to you.
Right. So anyhow, let me get continued on with getting back over here, because I want to get back dealing with the direction, dealing with the taxes, and dealing with starting to file paperwork, because this is the point that what we're supposed to be doing. I want to start getting paperwork filed. I want to start going after these people before they try to come after me. You know, and so
did you get that thing on taxes I sent you?
Yeah, I know. I haven't really got to that, but right now I've been working on other things too. I wanted to get in, because you're not the only one I've been dealing with and talking to, and getting information with that. You know, I'm putting things together in a lot of packages and a lot of things that I'm putting ideas together here. So anyhow, I want to get into this structure with taxes, because, you know, like what Southern was saying too, is actually prove the contract. Now I'm going to be putting something together. I want them to prove the contract that I have with them on taxes. Who wrote the contract? You know, I mean, I've got stuff that I have personally filed in the Secretary of State, and news media has been published. I'm not part of their system. Nobody's disputed it. And people say, well, you can't go that route. Well, I went through with, you know, they would say, some people would say that's the private way, public way, whatever. I don't give a damn public or private. I'm making it public because this is our private. You know, this is my right to speak. I have the right of free religion, and my religion says the Constitution gave me the right. And that is the one thing. My family's bloodline goes back, and, you know, I mean, that's the whole point, proving one's bloodline. This is where people say, bloodline doesn't matter. Bloodline does. This is why they're doing these test results on man and woman and child, to know your bloodline. They want to know where you come from. Some of them are even trying to determine or clarify if they're supposed to be aliens or crossbreeding. Now, a lot of that I personally don't go along with. I haven't seen it. It's like, you know, I have my religious belief, and people have their religious belief. So, and that's the whole point. We're supposed to have our own religious belief, not tell somebody that their religion sucks and their religion doesn't have more power than the other religion. Who gives a rat's tail about religious beliefs when it comes down to it? If we're supposed to live together and be in harmony without stabbing and shooting each other and doing these crazy stuff that these psychological Democrats are feeding the drugs to these kids, and I get tired of listening to this opiate bullshit. Either you are responsible or you're not. Grow a child. Grow responsibility then. And if you're afraid to be responsible, quit whining. Well, that's the point, you know. And then people go, and I've dealt with people who have ODs and stuff like that around me in my own life, and it's like the bottom line comes down to, that's where they didn't teach the responsibility to themselves, or somebody didn't teach them the responsibility.
And that's the one thing that we got to teach each other. It's called responsibility. So instead of whining like a petition, people want to whine by petition. It pisses me off because I've been pushing for this structure with the state of Oregon with Kate Brown. I've got petitions up there. If we need to alter them, we can alter them. But at the other point, we can autograph them and file them, and 3 or more as a witness, and we could do a grand jury structure that the federal government, Jeff Sessions' agency, has to do an indictment investigation. I mean, a lot of this stuff, I personally have already proven this stuff, dealt with this stuff. I've been fighting this stuff for my life for the last 15 years of my life. And so that is the one thing that drives me crazy with all this stuff that goes on with people who are not paying attention to what's really going on around us. Because we're not supposed to be arguing about tidbits. You know, even going to a lot of these courtrooms, I mean, that's a waste of lifetime. You know, and we're supposed to be filing the correct paperwork on the judge. You know, if he violates the oath, we file on them, and that is a good point. Ask the right questions. Ask him what his oath is. Now, I'm putting together a couple letters that I'm putting out to Lincoln County here for tomorrow, because I've been after them for their oath of office. Of course, they don't like to respond to me. You know, I mean, it's interesting because I know I got a lot of papers that I've written on the counties and to, you know, dealing with other political agencies and structure. And I don't have a problem doing that. But that's the whole point. When one does it, we all need to start standing up. I don't comprehend why people are not standing together. I mean, there should have been a lot more people that against this gun deal that Kate Brown put together and said there was no vote. But the other point, when you go through it, and if you logically think that administrative rules only apply to the public servant, not to the man, the lawful bloodline American on this soil, because we are the fourth branch of government, the owners of the other 3. And that's the point. I'm not going to bow my head. These men and women have to bow their head to us because they're the employees. And once we start educating the children so that way they comprehend that these employees work for them, not the other way around. I mean, it's the thing. I mean, I've been preaching this stuff for years, voluntary taxes. You know, people have come after me and said, Ed, if you don't pay the tax, this is what's going to happen. I haven't paid any income or property tax or anything like that in years. So, yeah, I'm sort of nervous about what might come down. I've known that they've thrown people off land before. I've known technically that actually a couple incidents, they actually shot people off their land, literally. So, yeah, I have my nerves too. But then the other point is that getting the right questions asked. I'm getting ready to start that deal. I mean, I'm fighting right now that if I don't get an income here in the next couple of weeks, well, I'm going to be offline and stuff. This is what they're trying to do, is shut me down. I comprehend the reality of what they feel. I've been making noise all the way through Senator Merkley's office to the House of Senate, even still today. I mean, I'm fighting the other day with my Social Security for 6 hours on the phone. I've been fighting them for the last few years because they've been playing this game called the computer chip that they get to decide who, what, why, and how. And I can't go to court. Who, what court, why? And what agency? Who's going to help what? Everybody says, hire an attorney. What attorney? What are people stupid? You know, go to this agency, they're going to do that, this, that, and the other thing. No, they don't. See, I've been living this crap for 20 years when my neck got broken in 1989. I worked 7 years with a broken neck. They were amazed I lived through that part, the system, when they changed from workman's comp, from the private sector to workman's comp. And I'm still here by the grace of the Great Spirit, the way I look at it. Some will say God, whatever. But see, the thing is, it doesn't matter what God, what thing.
We all have the right of free religion. Free. That means we have the right to freedom to walk around in our country. You know, it doesn't mean that we're allowed to have invaders come into our country because we don't know what they're going to do to us or our children and stuff. I don't live in the open door policy. My front door is not open to the children. You know, unless I know the child in the neighborhood and the child comes up and I know the kid, you know, needs help or something. I mean, I can tell by, you know, by those circumstances like we all can. And that's what we're supposed to be doing, working and protecting one another. And this stuff that going through where we're being attacking to each other, this is the frustration that the confusion with the children are really going through this battle. So with some of the solutions, I'm putting together a couple more FOIA requests. So I'll be having them put out the next couple of days dealing with my city, my county, my situation. And we'll get them posted up on new.org and trackers. So anybody's got anything like that they want to run off or copy it or re-alter it for any of their own purposes, they can do it. You know, I mean, that's the one thing that, you know, a lot of our stuff, when we put the stuff up, we don't mind people altering it or stuff like that because make it for you. Because it's all of our structure when it comes down to it because we're all learning from each other. And that is the one point that's the whole point of all this, is learning from one another so we can make sure that the bloodline, the children are protected. Your children have to be protected. You know, that is the one point dealing with that circumstances. The children need to be protected. And so that's the one thing when Trump is bringing this new thing out that came out yesterday, you know, and he's bringing this valid point out to people going, you guys wanted yourself to be enslaved. You didn't want freedom. That's what he's exactly telling you. Everybody, you guys didn't want that. You wanted jobs. You didn't want to learn freedom. So that's why your kids were enslaved. And the state is doing this deliberately for financial gain. I mean, it's like I was back and forth on an email the last couple of days with a couple people on Facebook too. You know, how parents do this to themselves and it's the parents' fault. And it's like, excuse me, parents today that are 20 years old have no clue of reality of their own existence, most of them.
Yeah.
They grew up in a computer game in Disneyland. Go ahead.
You speak of income taxes. There's a group down in Texas called the Republic of Texas.
Yeah.
And they have a process. They go over it every time they have a meeting now, and it's a process of basically challenging jurisdiction. You got to understand the only real tax court in America there's only one, and legitimate tax court. The IRS is under the control of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and so you petition this court and ask them if they have jurisdiction over the IRS, and you got to pester them, but they will respond and give you a court order saying they do not have jurisdiction over the IRS. That's gold. You got that? And then you if they take you in any court, you can present that down there, and you ask the judge, the court they drug you in, do you have jurisdiction over me or jurisdiction? And if they say yes, they're lying, and you can go to a court of appeals and you could try that judge for treason because he don't have jurisdiction. So anyway, that's the process they're using. It's a little more elaborate than that, but essentially they're proving that the only court, the only real tax court in America does not have jurisdiction. You get that court, it's a court order. They'll answer you back. So no, we don't have jurisdiction. That's a court order.
Right. I know what you're talking about there. I've even printed that out. I got to find the other copy I had. I've already mailed 1 or 2 copies that I had at the time. I'm waiting for more stamps because once I get more stamps, I'm just going to set up probably 8 of them, mail them every other week myself.
like you suggested, and that was suggested on the talk show, and that's the one thing that this gentleman is bringing up. There are solutions out there to do this circumstances to get us off the system. And that is the point, that we do have solutions. It's like when I was on the phone yesterday going with Representative Gumberg's assistant about, my wife being threatened and rights to travel, and he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, this is what's going on. You're telling me if I don't pay this fee, I'm going to be executed. And so I'll find out Monday. They're all like jumping around, freaking out because of the way I said it. And it's like, I ain't stupid. I ain't playing games. This is not a game we're playing here. They want to come after me on property taxes. I've been asking them since, 4 years, 5 years now, to prove property taxes. I've already certified letters to them from 2 governors asking them to prove the tax structure. I written a couple pages, 26 pages on one, with 11 pages just explaining the tax quote, property taxes, the whole structure, explaining that there's no such thing as property taxes to we the people. The only ones who are obligated to pay property taxes are elected and public servants, registered church members, voters, and immigration. It's in their IRS code. They're in their own manuals. So that's the point. They have it in their own manuals, but these people have been getting so greedy. And so that's the whole point. We got to hit these guys with some certifications, good question answers. Get these things out, like the one that the gentleman was bringing up. So we've got to get that. I think we have that posted up on new.org and trackers. If not, I'll check out in the next 48 hours, or maybe by tomorrow we'll figure it out. Because if we have that, then now I can tell people just where to go, and they can print it out, the letter from Texas, because that group in Texas has got quite a few good stuff. I don't know if we put a link to their site yet or not. But that's the whole point. I think I sent you some stuff. I sent it to a couple other people dealing with even what they call school taxes in Texas, because property taxes in Texas are not to be paid. I mean, that's by their own state administrative rules. So, and that is the point. Reading these things, not doing what somebody tells you. Learning what the words mean, comprehending what the whole circumstances of the truth is about and around you. Because once we start putting all these things together, and, the kids are starting to comprehend, when we get, more and more kids around. And we're working on setting up the links for the homeschool channel. Because we'll be getting that put together with the homeschool channel, too. It takes a little time for us to get these things together, too. Because there's only a couple of us. Go ahead.
Just to interject if I can, like Judge Donovan Riff, we're all scared of the IRS, and there's no doubt about it. And we're imprisoning all of our children with this mess. There's guys, are grown men that said, "I am not going into court." So what does that mean? It means they're going to have a warrant out for you, and blah blah blah. They're just terrified.
Oh yeah, who knows what I'm in store for?
Another little tidbit on the same line with the Republic of Texas. When you get that court order, you also you get all of your state taxes or whatever it is you're dealing with, and ask them, how do you compute the state tax? They'll say, well, go follow the federal guidelines, and and then you mail them a copy of that court order you got, and they can't get around that either, and so that blocks them right there. And from then on out, do not talk to any IRS agent on the phone. Don't do it.
Oh, I never do that. I ain't stupid enough to do that.
Yeah, they're just trying to get something on you. That's all they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
Stand down.
Now, that's the one thing people don't, they answer the phone or they'll talk to a caseworker or
any government employee puts up a red flag to me mandatory because I don't like talking to them. You know, I mean, I got you know, 2 cops moving in around me with a stone throw at me. You know, it's like, it's bad enough I got the judge owns 5 houses around me. Like, so, I mean, you know, when you step out of the movie and watch the production, you know, and it's like you got to sit there and laugh at it and take it with a grain of salt, you know. It's like, so, and you just look at these people. And that's the one thing that I'm waiting when I get back Monday, or call Monday, because I want to get that. I'm going after the representative, and then I'm going to go after the senator, because I want them to put it in writing. I have the right to travel, or else I need compensation because I need a driver and everything like that. Because seeing that I'm disabled and they get federal and state funding for my disability in that capacity, does that make sense?
Oh yes, it makes sense. They do. You know, you could. They have to provide for your welfare, and yeah, I understand that.
Oh yeah, so I'm going to be asking them to produce and prove this now. All right, so let's deal with it. So, and then I figured it's a good questions, good things to put in. It's, you know, so I want to be able to have them question their own actions. And that's what we want to do, is make sure that they question their own funding too, resources.
Can I say something?
Anyhow, I just looked at the time. We're going to call it, wrap it up for the night. I appreciate everybody who joined us tonight and talked. So, yeah, it is getting late. We'll get this going tomorrow night. And then, like I said, I'll have quite a few things set up this week to pass out. So next weekend, we'll have some templates and stuff like this for people. So with that, I'd like to say, may the Great Spirit bless you. Mother Earth look over you. And the Creator bless us all.
Ed, this is Rose, please.
Yeah.
Can I get your email? Are you going to have another call tomorrow?
Yeah, give me a call in a little bit. I'll give it to you.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
All right, night.
Yeah, good night.
All right.
All participants are muted.
All right. Thank you for listening to the IT Show. Oh, wait, no, it's the Disclaimers by Ed Johnston.
Thanks a lot.
The IT and You Know Show. Those are the phrases. If you go back and count them, there'll be a crap ton of them.
We've been monitored like heck. Okay.
Yep. But
I see that one. At least I ain't that bad then.
Not yet, but you and Southern are both competing. His ites, yours, you knows. I mean, you guys are back and forth.
I know. I can see that.
But,
all right.
But basically, yes, it's nice to know these court cases, supposed, that are actually out there. But until we actually see the proof, they're hearsay. So if you're going to take anything said on these shows, you are liable for your own actions for doing whatever is being told on these shows. We are not liable for it because we are not attorneys, we are not judges, we are not lawyers, we are not professionals in any way. We are just living men and women who have learned and are sharing the knowledge we have learned with you. I can get a screenshot where Ed admitted he was wrong. So we are not infallible. And if more information comes up, we will correct whatever mistakes were made in the past. But again, as I have stated, as it shows on the YouTube, if any caller is giving out information as fact, it is going to be treated as hearsay until the proof can be provided that it's actually happened or worked. There was a call system, callers, there was a group of individuals in the past. One of them is actually has multiple years in prison now It was also known as the Continental Judges. They were just trying different things. They heard this would work, or they said, just ask questions, or just do this in courtrooms and it'll get dismissed. There was never any proof. And now quite a few of them are in prison. So we need proof before, and anybody who's listening to these calls, you get proof before you try something, or you know it inside and out, so you know every loophole they can find, so you can block it. Until then, just listen, be educated, and do your own research. If you can prove us wrong, do it. But do real research. Don't go to Snopes. Snopes is bull. Anyway, it is June 16th, 2018. It is a Saturday. We thank you for your time. Thank you for dealing with the slight Jerry Springer moment, or moments. And those will not be happening again. I will block anybody from now on that does that. And we will see you tomorrow night.
Yep.
Thank you very much.